All right, going to go over how you find music in Final Cut Pro. First thing you do is you come over here to the music, obviously, and then you go into the music and sound. Best way to do this is look at all your options. You have a ton of stuff from Final Cut Pro sound effects, which clearly are all sound effects, to iLife sound effects, Apple Loops for Soundtrack Pro. That's kind of the big picture one. So when you do that, you have legitimately hundreds to thousands of different things to look through. So there's a nice little subcategory if you go down to Associated Production Music. And these are all between 30 seconds and 2.5 minutes worth of different things you can kind of look through. Really the best way to do it is to kind of run through and kind of check out different things as you go. You can just go ahead and obviously Canon and D, probably not what you want to do. So just kind of go down and kind of click on one that might sound interesting and then hit play. Not going to work for a teacher interview project, but you know, you can see what we can do. So fascinating and quirky. This is my personal story narrative, by the way, that I'm going to play with. So I'm fascinating and quirky. So interesting. Kind of sounds like up in the air-ish. So if you find something that's somewhat interesting, you can always obviously cut it down. So what you do, just grab it, select it, and just drag it in. It's as easy as that. Go to the very beginning of, and then there you have it. So it just creates an audio track underneath, and then just go ahead and play it and just try it out.
My lifelong passion for storytelling started early. Sitting with my grandpa in Jackson, Tennessee, I learned from the expert. We would sit together, watching St. Louis Cardinal games via cable, listening to the radio broadcast from Jack Buck, and reading the previous game story in the paper, all at the same time.
Okay, and that's what we talk about, complementing versus distracting. The beginning part was decent, but then it got super loud. So what you do, just hover over it, kind of bring it down, and then we'll just test from there to see, is it really that complimentary or is it distracting?
This game story in the paper, all at the same time. It piqued my interest in perspective, context.
Okay, so that kind of high-pitched noise, not great. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that, and then just go back to the next look at some of the other ones. Let's try Feel Good. Nice building, pretty eventful, so we'll throw that in and we'll see how that goes. So learn from the last one, probably definitely going to have to bring that down because I've got a whole narrative audio track. Minus 12 to minus kind of 13 to 18 is probably kind of where you want to start. So we'll just go here.
My lifelong passion for storytelling started early. Sitting with my grandpa in Jackson, Tennessee, I learned from the expert. We would sit together, watching St. Louis Cardinal games via cable, listening to the radio broadcast from Jack Buck, and reading the previous game story in the paper, all at the same time. It piqued my interest in perspective, context, and the subtle details that made up a great story. In college, I found communications is the closest.
And that's what you love about music. So total serendipitous, that kind of beat hits right as the music comes in, and that's pretty money. So let's try that again.
Subtle details that made up a great story. In college, I found communications is the closest thing I could find to what I resonated with so much. But the theory, it drove me out of the classroom to real visual storytelling.
So a good example of how it complements instead of just distracts what I'm actually trying to say. So we'll see a little bit more and see if it actually fits.
So I found production. It sparked my dream for the impossible, working for the worldwide leader. I love the innovative, creative, and inspiring professional culture, which focused on training, development, and process. I learned about the detailed, efficient storytelling that was emotional and entertaining. I love visual storytelling, but I want to do something more meaningful with it. So, my wife and I...
All right, pretty cool. You can see where it builds right there. I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And what I want to do now is just kind of adjust that. So I can come up, and then I want to create a keyframe to kind of maybe not bring it up quite as much as it actually wanted to come up. And then I'm going to bring this over, create another keyframe just to be able to adjust that. So I don't want it to kind of go quite as much up, so I'm just going to kind of bring it to 19, and that should take care of it.
Working for the worldwide leader. I love the innovative, creative, and inspiring professional culture.
So it still doesn't overwhelm it. So it's that complement, not distract, is really what you want.